Yes, we will record the webinar, so you have to agree to that first. A very welcome and good morning to the webinar here on Planet Reuse for Personal and Home Care, how to design and scale a reuse and a refill system and understand the environmental performance of both systems. To start, I say it again, it would be great if you can rename yourself. You go to participants and then you have 3 dots on the right side. If you click on that, you can rename yourself. It would be great if you put your organization or enterprise behind your name so we know who is in the room. If you'd like to ask questions during the webinar, I'm very much now the unmuted. Then please be free to put it in the chat. And at the end of the first discussion round, we have planned in some minutes, or a quarter of an hour actually, or even more, to answer your questions. So please put it in the chat. We will sort them a bit and ask them at the end of the session. Yes, please unmute yourself during the panel session. You can put on your camera if you want to be seen, but yes, also fine if you don't want to do this. The webinar is planned until 12:15. Give us any reaction in between if you want, also in the chat or via the emojis, whatever you want to use. The webinar will be recorded and the record will be shared afterwards in our channel in Planet Reuse. And Diane is just sharing the direct link to the channel because we have on Planet Reuse channels where we discuss particular topics, and one channel is for personal and home care because that's one big issue in the reuse and returnable packaging discussion. So we will continue the discussion in the channel. So it would be great if you can join this channel. Before we start, just 2 words about Planet Reuse. Planet Reuse is the first European online platform and network bringing together professionals to connect, learn, and collaborate on the topic of reuse and reusable packaging solution. And the platform went live last September, and today, that's the exact number, I'm just looking up, we already have over 540 members from 349 organizations on the platform registered. My name is Nicole Seiring and I'm happy to moderate the session today. And with me today is Diane Cadet and Manon Sénéchal, who will both support the webinar. Yes, the topic today is personal and home care and how to design and scale the reuse and refill system for those applications. And just give you some numbers. Today, the global cosmetic industry creates 120 billion units of packaging every year. That's a global number. 70% of which ending up in landfills. That's also a global number. In Europe, we are a bit better with the landfill rate, but still also a lot of packaging here is going at least to incineration because a lot of those packaging cannot be recycled yet or is not going to the right channel to be recycled yet. Often theoretically it can be recycled, but it's not going to sorting facilities and then it's ending up in incineration. There is a lot of ongoing progress also on the side of recycling, but we are here to talk about reuse and refill systems as becoming increasingly attractive alternative to single-use packaging. And there is a lot of music in the topic. Let's say on our platform, we already have 10 solutions for reusable and refillable packaging on personal and home care. That's Replenish, Splosh, Spruce, Fields, Wild, Des, Algramo, Cozy, Jean Bouteille here today, and zerooo with their brand Zimi also here today. This webinar means to be a no filter session, and with no filter session, we really mean to get some insights of the issues, what is working well, but also maybe on the problems of the issues, so we can learn from each other. So please really ask your questions, also ask critical questions if you want. And you can also disagree, of course, with things which are said here today. Before we start with the discussion, we have one question for you. And the question is, and please answer in the chat, did you ever, yes, there is the question, did you ever buy a personal or home care product in reusable or refillable packaging? And if yes, oh, we already have no, what kind of product was it? Put the name into the chat. Okay, Diane, you give me a sign. Ah, but I can see it already. Some people missing. Ha, we already have hand soap from the CME. Very good answer. A wild deodorant. Yes, we also have wild on our platform. Very good. Home sinks and beauty kitchen, fill and refill. We have as an answer, and we, in percentages, right now have a bit more saying yes, 53%. You did buy already a product in refill or reuse packaging, and no, 47%. Cozy cream, Honeyhütchen deodorant. Oh, I never heard that. So if you still want to put your answers in the chat, please feel free. So yes, I think that's a very good result, actually. Half of the people here already bought some products in refill or reuse packaging. This. Okay, so let's start with the discussion round, and I'm happy to introduce you to André Lang-Herfurth. He is Director Marketing and Sales at CME, which operates the first reusable packaging system for personal and home care products. And CME started with their own products in reusable packaging, using their system zerooo, which is also a white label system for other companies since 2022. Expanding as a service, providing this white label solution. And then we have Gerard BELLET, founder of Jean Bouteille, and Jean Bouteille is providing zero waste bulk service for retail stores. You have built a zero waste system of distribution and consumption, providing grocery stores with self-service dispensers, organic liquid products, and reusable and returnable bottles. So that's a mixture of both to help customers save on the use of packaging. We are very, very happy to have you both here in the discussions. You are both pioneers in the sectors. And before we start, maybe you tell us both a bit about your systems. How does the system work? What kind of products do you offer? What kind of packaging do you provide? Who are your clients, maybe? What are their needs? What challenges do they face? How many points of sales are you present in? And in which countries? So that's a lot of questions already. Maybe you can answer already some of them, and maybe André, you're welcome to start.
Yes, I'd be happy to start. You already shared overall our approach. In a nutshell, our approach in the German market, and maybe as we learn in the course of the webinar, some things will be applicable and maybe only possible because of local conditions. In Germany, we are blessed with a very extensive deposit return system on beverages, which many of you may know. So when it comes to beers and lemonades and water bottles, these are already being collected in deposit return machines. And based on this idea and knowing that a lot of cosmetic categories are liquids, we started out designing and developing our own bottle for the application of cosmetics. We launched our own brand, as you said, called Simi, with various categories, and we are actually launching all these different categories to inspire retail, other brands, and consumers that what we're looking to do here and build is possible. But our objective with this pool bottle and the pool containers that we are developing is for other brands to come join in. For example, Barbour, a cosmetics brand from Germany as well, which are to join our system, because over time, the more brands, the more points of collection, the more volume, the more affordable or cheaper reverse logistics and cleaning infrastructure will become, and the more accessible a system like this can become. To visually quickly illustrate, for you to get a better sense, I have a few pictures at the introduction for everyone to understand better what we are doing. If I can find where I can share, which I can't anymore. Here. So here's a quick overview of the types of propositions that we have available. Various categories from hand soap, dish detergent, hand disinfectant gel, lotions, facial cleaners, and we also have a second container based on glass for facial creams, all of which come with a 50-cent deposit. The process is the same as we know it from the bottle cleaning process. So after bottles are being filled and distributed and used, we collect them in central locations, we clean them locally, and make the bottles available for reuse. The glass bottle can, we anticipate, be used up to 30 times, not quite as much as beverages due to the aesthetics factor. And we are currently available with our own brand in 900 stores, and where we're also collecting in Germany and Austria the empties. And we're in the process of developing, with everything we've learned, the next generation together with retailers and 10 brands which are well known in the German market, to include all the different requirements that the logistics chain as well as the brand partners have for this system to scale and work. Last element, and then I hand over to Gerard, is that what's important is that what we started was not really knowing all the ins and outs. So doing this with our own brand and collecting at cash register, in deposit return systems, but also at doors of consumers, was very important for us to understand and learn what we're doing, so that we can then offer zerooo as a system to other brands. So as an example, for other brands to join this approach. So that gives you an overview as to how we are approaching it and how we've been doing this for 2 years in the market now, and 3 years in total working on this proposition. Gerard?
Thank you very much for handing me the. Where am I? Sorry, I'm trying to find a few pictures that I've prepared. Thank you very much for the audience. So I'm Gerard BELLET, founder of Jean Bouteille. Jean Bouteille is a company that started 9 years ago on the refill business. We are doing liquid bulk solution and products. We do have a range of 30 products from oil, wine, vinegar, laundry, shampoo, and soap. And we do also manufacture equipments that help brands putting their product in bulk. I will just put a few pictures so you can see in the same time. Or is it? It's here. And if I do that, diaporama, that will go by itself. So we do a lot of cosmetic product. Here it's example from Pierre Fabre or L'Occitane or etc., where we have a lot of challenges with soap and hygiene products, because it's a very specific environment. We need to have a very clean way to do everything. There is a lot of testing that are being done in all the chain during the production, and putting your product into refill can sometimes be seen as problematic because the company will lose some of its quality control. And so we are accompanying all those factories and producers to really understand what are the real risks, how should we do it. Most of them are doing refill, standard refill, home refill, and they don't have many problems, but they definitely are afraid when it's refilling home. So we advise to reduce a lot the risk on site, for example, with the type of tap that are making tubeless solution. So everything is very easy to clean and have a very good flow. Then we also work on the marketing that should be done on site. There are a lot of challenges here. Maybe we can see the different question after, but we try to have a 360 degrees approach with the brand, talking about marketing, talking about sales, how we integrate refill next to a pre-packed system, and it's very complementary to deposit system. And that's here for a small presentation, and definitely ready to reply to your question about how we do. We are in 1,700 stores. We are in 35 countries. Brands like L'Occitane or Mustela bring us to many countries, and so with our experience, we can definitely try to help all sectors understanding how we can do refill. And how it can be complementary to deposit, because it's definitely complementary to deposit.
Okay, thank you very much for this first introduction and also the nice pictures and video you're showing. So I think everybody knows now in general what you are doing and what kind of products you have. So that's a very good start. Maybe you can take us a bit to your journey, how you developed the system. So what was your first developments, maybe your first products, your first trials, your first trials you did. Did it work as you expected? Were there any big things where you think, okay, you had to start re-scratch everything because it didn't work at all? Or so what is your, since you started, I mean, you evolved a lot. Gerard, you just said you are on the market since 9 years already, so there's a lot of time in between. So tell us a bit maybe about your development and the journey in your business.
Definitely, the solution we are proposing and the way we are doing it is totally different. We started with the wish to reuse the bottle, and that's always here. How we can find a way to reuse this bottle. And shops at this time really wanted refill, understood that it can help a lot, but they approached they were afraid of a lot of things about refill, and they say, okay, you need to fix this problem, and we fixed it with technology. And that is a big mistake. We should fix it with simplicity and with affordability and with things that are deployable. And the major mistake we made is we complexify the entire process instead of simplifying it. We should always simplify everything, otherwise it's never deployable. So we stopped all complex machine with pump, tube, etc., because there were too much risk of cleaning, there were too much cost of implementation, there were too much hurdle for the storekeeper, and once you deploy, you lose a lot of money maintaining those equipments. Now we sell only equipments that are very affordable, so you allocate money and energy on merchandising, marketing, because when you want to sell something, you need to sell it because people like your product, and so you need to have marketing budget, to have merchandising budget. And if you put all the budget into machinery, then people will not buy your product just because it's in bulk, or at least you will get the 5% of people just because it's in bulk, but it's not enough to deploy massively. That's the main point. And after we went to a lot of products, and then we reduce the range of products. Sometimes we want to go too far, and we really need to concentrate, but that's because Jean Bouteille brand is particular, and really at the beginning focus on your bestseller, because you need to succeed with the bestseller. And when you launch a new product, sometimes you say, yeah, I will put it in refill this one and it will work, but it's a new product and it has already the problem of being a new product. And so you put two innovations combine, and that's sometimes difficult to combine innovation, because one part of the innovation may work but will be completely stopped by the other part of the innovation that doesn't work, and the analysis of the success and the failure is difficult. So now we really try to do a single innovation market, and finally, for companies who really want to be innovative, we make sure they put away the profitability of the experience. if it's pure innovation, it should not be done for profitability, because we are in a mass market environment where they all do known margin, and they tend to want the same known margin in advance. But if you are in pure innovation, please don't ask the same thing than when you are in a mass market deployable product. So that's all the different thing we try to alert people. After we know more and more about quality department, about legal department, how we can help them scaling, even if sometimes it's so not into their mindset and into their study and into their core attitude. Reuse is really complex because single-use plastic is so easy for quality department. And so we need to help them saying, yes, single-use plastic is so easy for you, but you need to change the reference. You need to change the way you look at things. Otherwise, single-use plastic will only win because it's so easy to do high quality, be very, very high in quality with very low price with the single-use plastic.
Okay, we are coming to the issue of how to incentivize maybe also the people to use the reuse and refill systems in a minute. But first, André, I mean, that's what you exactly did. You had a new product and a new system. Can you underline what Gerard said, that that's difficult to implement in the market at the same time, or what is your?
Yes, it's where I think we've learned a whole lot, and we needed to learn a whole lot, and we know where we can improve and must improve. But fortunately, within the first 2 years, we haven't made any capital errors yet. And what we did do was we did not execute our vision of the full solution right from the beginning, and that I think is supporting Gerard's point that you can't do everything right at the beginning. If you do, it's going to be way too costly. It's requiring way too much change at the same time. So we took a lot of compromises at first. So as an example, in offering these type of propositions, we still have a conventional single-use pump on our product, and we intentionally decided not to offer it with closing lids, as you may know from beverages, and say keep the pump so that you can exchange it at home and send back the empty with just with the lid. It makes ecological sense, but we said that's demanding too much from consumers to make the shift to return a bottle and at the same time manage the lids individually at home. And also that would require from retail to have multiple facing of the same proposition, where we have no idea at what speed adaptation would occur. That's one example. The other is we are still transporting our filled products, and our customers are transporting their filled containers in single-use cardboard containers, not because we want to do this, but because we at the beginning had no idea how a proper secondary transportation unit would work in the logistics chains of automated processes of large retail customers. So we are using our cardboard boxes to get the empties into store, and we are looking to collect the empties in these cardboard boxes, and we actually get them back. And the ones that are still fine, we continue to use them in other applications in detail, but it's not yet the full zero waste solution for the secondary transportation. And we intentionally didn't do it because we knew we could go there, spend money on it, but we have no idea if this is going to work and if customers in an automated logistics process would be able to handle and what all goes in there. And now, after 2 years, we are now approaching together with the retailers, because what we did was good enough for them to look at us and talk to us and talk with us to understand how we can scale it better. And we're now moving into the phase of, okay, how are we actually going to solve this approach? So I think this is supporting what Gerard is saying in how to go about building such an approach, not doing everything at once, even though ecologically it may be the right approach, but being practical, assessing what is there for infrastructure in the market, and then using that instead of expecting everyone to change their ways of working because they haven't been waiting for us. Another example is how companies are filling and what they can fill. Can they fill into glass bottles? Do they even have the capability? No, many don't. Okay, so that's one of the next challenges. What do we do there? And then lastly, one key learning for us was the practical importance and we knew this, but we still tried it first, and that was a mistake we made. We went after many different channels at the beginning, and we looked to win in channels that are centrally organized, which is our target process, because we want to collect via central existing logistic processes as many empties as centrally as possible from a cost perspective, from an ecological perspective. That makes most sense. But at the beginning, we also went after decentral organized retail outlets, meaning that there is no central infrastructure. And if that is the case, that means how do you collect all these empties via no system that's there, which in the end means you either ship small volumes of bottles, which ecologically and cost side doesn't make a whole lot of sense, or you go out and start collecting them, which is very expensive, and also, again, ecologically doesn't make any sense. And that was a learning, for example, that we did. So we took a step back and defocused the decentrally organized retail channels, and now are talking to them, involving them in developing the next generation of our system, and working with them together to centrally involve the franchisees into an approach that is considering existing infrastructure. I don't know if this has been too complex. The key message is work with what's there and don't look to invent everything from scratch, because you will be over asking stakeholders to change too much at once.
Yes, yes, and maybe the key message is also work it out together with your clients and with your future clients to make it work for them. Yeah, Gerard, how does it work with your system, with the secondary packaging, the containers and so on you just showed? Is that basically single use, just in a paper bag, or is it also reusable? Because that's also an argument sometimes against the refill systems, that they say, okay, behind the scene everything is not refillable. So how do you deal with that, or what are you using there?
Totally true. We use bag-in-box technology. Bag-in-box technology is today single-use. They have been made to be single-use, and they are not cleanable as of today. We have to accept the fact that there is no reused container that could fit the needs of our market today. Drum come with a lot of complexity to clean and to dry. Once you become mass market, cleaning drums tend to also be difficult in terms of logistic overall. And once the market is set up and come with a solution that can be shared on a pool with other producers, definitely we can change that. Some of our clients use drum, some and reuse them, but most of the clients use bag-in-box technology, especially on shampoo, shower gel, etc., because they don't want to have any contamination with their product, and a 20-liter drum can stay 6 months on a shelf, and they don't want to have a 6 months product in contact with air, because you have the problem of the air contamination with drum. So bag-in-box technology allow you to protect the product on the long run, having the refill being an environment that is more complex than a factory. Now it's the bag-in-box is very light in plastic. We collect them to recycle them. We can recycle them if you have a clean batch of bag-in-box, not mixed with other plastic. And it's the transport packaging too. So all that is, I know I'm using single-use argument saying that, and that's not perfect, but we succeed to limit to 9 grams of plastic per liter thanks to that approach. And we have a product that is protected even if the rotation doesn't allow you to have a 20-liter consumed in 1 month. And definitely the market need to be stronger, so new solution will come. Shared drums will be interested, even if a cross-contamination of chemical products on plastic is a subject on bottles and will come a subject on container, and we need to find how we overcome those struggles, definitely.
Yes, yes. Okay, thanks for that honest answer. One more question. Your system, do you do you buy the packaging, the bottle or whatever, and bring it all the time, or are you combining it with reusable packaging and a refund system? So how does the back end works for the consumers?
We do a strange deposit system. We sell and we have a buyback option. That means we sell the container with VAT. The consumer can reuse them anytime they want, and when they want to bring it back, they get refund part of the money. They buy €2, they get refund €1, and the €1 difference push them to reuse the bottle and allow us to finance the washing of the bottle on the bottle and not on the product, because we don't know if our bottle will be used on some other product or our own product, and so the cost structure would be complex if we don't allocate the cost on the bottle and etc. Now we also definitely are in a moving market, and it's been a long time. We feel that we need to do pre-fill solution that are refillable and that can be brought back as a deposit. So we would sell filled bottle of soap that you can recharge in-house, and if you don't want to recharge, you give it back, and if the person come back and doesn't have his bottle, can buy a new filled one and bring back the empty one later on. The problem with refill is you need to bring back the bottle when you buy your product, which is not necessarily the case. You don't want to be in shortage at home, etc. So we advise our brands partners to do pre-fill refillable. That way you have more comfort for your consumer, and you don't ask them to choose another product if they don't have their bottle. And then put a deposit scheme on this bottle, it's easier.
Okay, so that would be a combination of both, probably making sense. André, I mean, you are doing the pre-filled option, yeah? Your product is already in the bottle, and you're also working with a deposit refund system. Is that incentivizing the consumers enough to bring the bottle back first and also to use the system or to buy the CB products?
Yes, we have, as I said at the beginning, a deposit of 50 cents, and the deposit is traveling along our entire value chain. So it's being handed back and forth all the way around the value chain. And given the return rates, we are now with our first customer, a national drugstore chain called Budni here in Germany. And after 2 years, we see return rates hovering in between 80 to 90% within that channel. But that took time. At the very beginning, and you asked what products did we start with? We started right when Corona started as well. And the only categories anyone wanted to take in were hand soap and hand disinfectant gel. Those were the only 2 categories any retailer was interested in listing at the time. And only starting with these 2 categories, a lot of people really liked the shape of the bottle, the value, how valuable it is, and how superior it is versus a single-use bottle. And we assume a lot of the bottles, and we know a lot of the bottles stayed at home for refill purposes. So using the refill pouches, which are very popular in Germany, and they didn't return. The more categories we offered, the more variety there was, the more bottles like this people had at home, the more they started coming back. And that was a key insight for us moving forward, and also in preparing Zero and scaling. It is essential for our model that we get as many points of return, as many brands, as many different categories as possible around a standardized pool solution, so that people have many of them at home and realize that they can return these. We've at the beginning found our bottles tossed into glass, single-use glass containers right in front of retail outlets that had the deposit return machine prepared for take back, which made us ask, why is this happening? And we learned that also in the decision-making process within families, one person is buying the container and the other person is returning the container, is not aware of what the container does, and it doesn't match it with the deposit return machine and tosses it into the single-use glass container. And those are tough learnings at the beginning, which we will need to overcome over time. When it comes, again, in Germany, that being the case, and this is what we're betting on, since there are many of these types of bottles in place, and over many centuries even, people have, not centuries, decades, people have become used to the bottle looking the same, and that's why I can return it. And that's, of course, what we are aiming for as well. And we can only achieve it with, as I said, as many return points, as many retailers, as many brands and categories in the system as possible for it to become the norm to return these empties, just like you return other things that are of the similar nature in Germany. Again, beverages being the case already.
So we are right in the next question, actually, because that question is how much effort does it need, and also maybe time and money to spend on communicating on reuse systems in general to the consumers, and also on the side of personnel and shop owners. Is it a lot of effort, or what's the effort to train them, to teach them how to use the system, to get used to new practical processes within their daily shop work? So what are you thinking about this? And is this a topic where especially collaboration could help, and campaigns could help on reusable packaging or refillable packaging in general, so that the people know, okay, this is an option? André, do you want to start?
Yes, I'd be happy to start. Well, there's no price tag that I can put on a marketing campaign that's going to solve this. I think it's a very multifaceted question. We do have the challenge that with speaking the markets that I'm very familiar with, we have deposits on single use as well. So there is confusion with many consumers already. Is this single use? Is this multi-use? Or is this real reuse, Mehrweg? We also have, when it comes to refill, misunderstandings because it's all new to many consumers. Okay, what's what and how does it work? So just with marketing, once doing a campaign, we're not able to explain all of this. And that's where I think a concerted general effort, which where planned reuse, but also a new era as the new European Reuse Alliance, or in the German market, the Mehrwegverband Deutschland, pooling and collaborating amongst multiple reuse players, I think is important. And it's also our job to involve policy and sensitizing the public that the key challenge and the overarching theme with all of these is that we need to leave our linear single-use economic system, which is the overarching thing I think that we're talking about. If we want to change our ways of working and become ecologically sensible, we need to start thinking in circular solutions. And I think that's the overarching challenge. And that's actually not only limited to personal care, refill, reuse, that's to really everything that we do, be it the cars that are in use or the clothes that we wear, or the CO2 issue that we've got in the climate crisis, which in the end is a circular challenge, where because the circularity of our CO2 system is being disturbed. So that's a very, maybe even philosophically, very wide-ranging answer. I can't pinpoint this is the one solution, and this is the amount that you'll need to spend. These are complex issues, and the key is collaboration. Aside from money, one thing we know is that when people in store are buying our products and are buying products in our containers, it's essential that at the cash register there is the hint, and you are aware that you just paid 50 cents deposit and you'll get it back when you return the bottle. That's the best marketing we can do at the point of purchase, when somebody maybe even buys the proposition just because of the formula and the visual appearance, but gets this message right at the point of purchase. It's written everywhere, people don't read it, but at the cash register, if the message is reinforced or even issued, you can return this at us, which is of course also in the interest of retail for customers to come back to return bottles. That's powerful, and that helped us a lot to get the return rate with our first customer to the level where we are today.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Gerard, do you want to add something? You already scratched the issue of collaboration now and cooperation. André, maybe before you answer, Gerard, you're both very, very active. And that was a question at the very end, but I just have it now. You're both very active also on European level with the new era, the European Reuse Alliance, which just started this year. Gerard, you are the president of the new era. André, you are very active in the German Association on Reuse. So do you also agree that collaboration on this level is is important, and what influence, maybe the second question, does the policy has? I mean, now we are discussing the new packaging waste regulation on European level, a lot of discussions going on amongst the stakeholders on the draft. Yeah, so what is the influence there, and how important is it?
Thank you. There's tremendous work to do there, and we are a bit alone compared to in front of this massive economy that is linear and that don't want to move, or they say we will move with recycling, but it take many years and will never end up really moving. So we need a lot of collaboration. When we met Madame Ries, the rapporteur, I don't know rapporteurs in English, the one who will brought the text, the PPWR, she said, you are the first to come and is in favor of the legislative text. And she's really in favor of it, but they say they all come with this LCA and this example, and they brought us to a McDonald's that didn't have any cleaning system, and they show us that it was less ecological to do takeaway, to do a reused plate and cutlery and glass there, and the difficulty is to say yes, but what the absurdity is not having a dishwasher in this McDonald's, and this is possible because single use is the only way you do it. The problem is not that we will be less ecological for this McDonald's, but it's for the overall that it's totally illogical to not have a dishwasher into a restaurant. Nobody go in a house without a dishwasher or ability to clean the house, the dishes. And so we should not adapt to linear economy. And we need to be strong and political on this. And there where we need collaboration, saying today, some example of reuse are not ecological in front of single use. Sure, but the overall is totally absurd. And we need to adapt to that today. We need to let us grow to show that there is an ecological way to reuse. Nobody buy a single-use plate at home because it's just more economical and more ecological. And so why you accept it for restaurant? And now they take out this analysis, they put the number they want, and bringing this example. So it's a bit political. It's what's the society we want to live in, and we are only examples, and we struggle to reach the volume because we go to consumptions where the difficulty is shops tend to sell very few amounts of items per month. Like the biggest shop in Germany sell very few items of the biggest laundry bottle sold, but they are in 10,000 stores, and that's where they do their volume. It's because they are in 100,000 stores in Europe, and we are only in 1,000 stores or 200 stores or 500 stores. So how can we achieve that kind of range? We will not sell 3 times more soap because it's in reuse. We will sell the same amount of soap, but it's very few per stores. So we need to be in many stores. So that's where we need collaboration to show that you have that everywhere, etc., etc.
Okay, André, do you want to add something or ask something? Because otherwise, continue.
Well, the element of collaboration, which I think is important, when it comes to the approach, and Gerard, maybe you can also share your view on your approach for prioritizing refill. It is absolutely essential to involve brands that are supposed to join the system, users which are supposed to integrate the adapted circular process into the daily behavior, as well as retailers which have existing linear processes which we're now asking to adapt and change towards a circular model. Now, all of them are willing to adapt fundamentally, and all of them understand that we've got this overall circular challenge ahead of us as a society, at least at strategic levels, that this needs to happen. But supporting what Gerard just said, for now, it's big wins for us to just have presence in stores across many different areas for the system to start being in place. With the volume and with time and with the system working with all these constituents, we will be able to increase volume, lower cost, and make it even more accessible to even more people. But that will not be done, I mean, unless I'm keeping my fingers crossed, maybe somebody else has a different approach where it's all possible at a low cost a big scale effort right from the start. But it's a journey. It's a journey leaving the linear model. It's a journey adapting processes slightly, and it's a journey making sure that the interlinkages in between suppliers, retail, and consumers can develop into efficient processes that are handleable by all of them and do not incur vast amounts of effort or cost, which is, of course, not supporting the cause if we run into that. And that's why it's so important to use existing infrastructure and existing processes as much as possible and only tweak little elements from time to time. Unless, of course, we receive complete legally changing environment, which is supporting the direction we're taking. But those are battles that are ahead of us that we actually get the support, as Gerard just shared, because right now with PPWR, we will be working in a cooperative effort to get that legal framework that we can continue to develop and flourish with support of policy.
You just both mentioned the environmental performance and the data and information everybody is requesting now. By the way, nobody requested ever the single-use plastic environmental performance in the first place. So it's a bit wondering why now it is done the other way around. But anyway, I mean, it is an issue of, or it is a big question still, how many returns you need to make it environmentally better than single use and so on. Do you have any data to share? Do you have any numbers on that? Any LCAs, anything you want to share with the audience about, in particular, this question of environmental performance of your systems? Gerard? Who's nodding very good.
we do have some LCA. We do not have LCA specifically on soap and hygiene products and cosmetics. And definitely we need a broader LCA tools that is clear on reuse for every companies to put their figures and understand what they are. We are working with New Era on trying to make a global funding to have an independent cabinet that could make this analysis to be cross categories, cross scenarios, etc. It's very hard to compete in terms of CO2 against PET bottle. That's for sure. PET bottle is extremely aggressive because it's very, very light. And so we will always come with an example and say, hey, but look, if I have this, it's better. Yeah, but the market is not made on that. If we take the example of the yogurt come in PP, and now we know how to do yogurt in PET, but it will take 30 years to change the production line to be in PET. So they come with a recycling fact that will never be the case before 30 years. And so it's hard to compete only on LCA because single-use plastic can be very, very competitive. And now saying that is, what's the problem with being low, but a bit higher, but still very, very low? We also need, same with cost. I mean, we need to not say we are just greener. We are greener because we are greener than the other one that are very heavily CO2 consuming, and we have less plastic because there is a plastic problem, and we have more, etc., etc. We need to have a broader approach because we tend to be cornered by LCA that are reduced with one single fact, that is CO2. When LCA are more complex than that, and they are easy turned the way you want to. I can put you an LCA where I'm the best in the world. It's so easy.
I have to second what you said. Also, at the very beginning of our journey, I felt like I was in the wrong movie when a multinational corporation with resources from here until wherever was asking us with 4 people as a startup building the system where our LCA was, and if we weren't able to fully prove what we're talking about, they wouldn't be interested in talking to us. Where you're really thinking, dude, like, yeah, where's, like, you're doing all of what you're doing, and where's your LCA? And how can you even ask us? How about offering support to do this? Now, we spent 2 years analyzing where we stand and preparing a proper LCA, which is underway right now. And our indicated figures, the way we've designed and executed our system, are indicating that we become, from a CO2 perspective, ecologically superior only after 3 to 4 times reuse of our glass bottle the way we have it today. And that from a waste perspective, the amount of waste we are creating is absolutely so much less. Now, granted, we still have in our current execution the cardboard container I talked about, and we still have single-use pumps. But there are 2 elements I'd like to highlight here, which I think are very important in assessing LCA and how to think about it. Firstly, it's very important to look at the entire value chain, of course, and that's again where when you think in CO2, the question is what scope is being taken by the single-use fraction. There is production and sourcing, there is use where the transportation element becomes very important, and then there is end-of-life scenario. The vast majority of the CO2 emissions and resource use is, of course, in sourcing and production. And just to give you a sense, a single-use plastic bottle for general cosmetic applications at 250 milliliters is generating somewhere between 200 to 300 grams of CO2. A glass bottle, the way we are using it today, is executing 400 grams of CO2 in production on average because of the way glass is being produced. But if we use this bottle twice, then the amount of CO2 in production is already cut in half and we are already comparable. At the 3rd time and 4th time, it becomes even less. Of course, what we have to mathematically put against it is the effort of transportation and cleaning. And that's where the mathematics then come into, okay, to what extent can we be as regional and local as possible in transportation? And to what extent can we optimize and scale cleaning processes to, per unit, reduce the amount of energy needed to clean? Those are essentially the mathematics, and that already suggests that it's absolutely important. The more bottles rotate and the more regional a system can be designed, the more superior it will be ecologically. Yes, and that's how we look at it. The one thing that I want to highlight, which when thinking LCA and environmental performance, even in having still in use single-use elements in a packaging solution. And I think, Gerard, at least in Germany, I know for refill, there's also the requirement that if you use the same bottle for various formulas, you are required to put, for example, a label on there to stipulate what's inside. And that's a single-use item. Now, the beauty of reuse and a systematic approach is that we get all the materials back that we send out. And just to give you a visual understanding for this, sharing the slides I shared earlier. So when the bottles come back and go into cleaning, we are able not only to clean the primary container and make it ready for reuse, but we're also able to sort all the single-use items 100%. So there is not a, well, 50% is tossed into the bin and going to incineration, and the other 50% is moving into downcycling mode, which means no recycling, because the truth is that nearly all of our recycling today is downcycling. We are actually able to collect our pumps 100% the same amount of item, which means we're able to create 100% recyclate because of the material being exactly the same. We're able to collect our labels, 100% the same type of label. So we're able to put it into a resource stream, which is 100% clean. And that is an element when it comes to the end of life scenario. So what is the average end-of-life usage of a single-use item? You need to talk about export into other countries. You need to talk about the incineration rate and the CO2 emissions linked to them. And you will find out that it's actually only a very small percentage of true recycling. And the vast majority there is downcycling as well. And even what has been recycled is not moving into a state of being reused for the exact same purpose. You will find that that the recycled material is being turned into t-shirts or backpacks or something which is, again, not circular, single use, and then it's a nice effort to recycle, but it's really one round and then the material is lost again. When it comes to the LCA assessment, this is my point. These end-of-life elements are very important to consider and to model into anything that you will model, because reuse, and I assume refill with the containers in some way, and some materials coming back and being also capable to sort 100%, is not only addressing the point of reusing resources, it's also addressing enabling 100% recycling at the end of life of all these materials. Because that's another element. After 30 times of using this bottle, it will go back to be recycled into potentially the exact same quality level. When it's glass, And if we're thinking in PET, what we're working on, or a plastic solution, again, we'll be able to create 100% recyclate, which in recycling systems is not possible today.
Okay, thank you very, very much for this. Yeah, a lot of information and also numbers and the context of it. I think that's very important if you talk about LCA and proof of environmental benefits. Yeah, what are you exactly talking about? So that's very, yeah, we very much appreciated you sharing this information. Before we go to the panel, before we have questions from the panel, because I've seen there are some already in the chat. Maybe let's have one more last question and a deep dive with one question in the reverse logistics. You were mentioning both already. André, you said you are cooperating with 10 brands or company, if I got it right, to exactly work on the issue of return logistics. You are probably working together with cleaning machinery, cleaning stations, cleaning enterprises. And also, Gerard, you said you are taking back the bottles, at least to a certain extent, you are giving to the consumers. What would be your key insights on this? I mean, you already said, André, you have to use logistic ways which are already there, or also secondary packaging and so on. But because that's also a big part of the environmental performance, the whole transport bag, the whole cleaning and the refilling then afterwards. So what are you working on there? What is your recommendation? Maybe also for countries which don't have such a system as we have already in Germany with the take back machineries and so on. Is there any learnings you can share? Gerard, do you want to
should I start? Yeah, sure. Sorry. In France, where deposit schemes have mostly disappeared from consumer goods, it's still existing in restaurants and cafes, but it's not the same market and not the same product. We need to make without, and we are lucky to have some new companies that are coming with a bottle cleaner, and they understand that they need to resolve the burden of the collect of the bottle. So they try to find a business model on collecting those bottles with collaboration, etc. That's not easy because the best ways to do is still to have the sellers, the one who make the margin by selling should collect, because collect is a cost, selling is a margin, and so the margin structure should burden the cost. Otherwise, you have a cost company and a margin company, and that's always very difficult. We need to help them. We need to have more shops. It need to be cheaper to collect bottles because we come there every week and there are many bottles to collect. It's only by being massive that we will succeed this challenge. Today, because our system was you reuse your bottle 1, 2, 3, 10 times, and then you can give it back. We collected very few bottles compared to what we sell. So we could take the loss of the collect. But it's more and more difficult. And we are trying to work with the bottle washer that are implemented in France to say, let's help you collect a bottle. We will finance you that way so you can grow. And instead of putting some money into transporter, let's put some money into your company to do the same. So it's collaboration in one word.
Okay, yes, thank you, André. You are unmuted, André. You have to, yeah.
The one thought that may help, I'm not sure, is what we said before, since I don't know the infrastructure and the given challenges and maybe already potential solution approaches in each of the markets, is look around and see what's there. Look to understand what is similar in behavior on consumer side. Try to understand how retail is working and to what extent there are similar processes. As an example, it helped us at the very beginning to help some of our buyers or first contacts. In Germany, there's another detail which is widely used. People here love carbonated water, and there are these carbonation machines which have these cylinders inside, which are being returned and refilled. And it helped in drugstores, specifically in Germany, talking about cosmetics, where not a whole lot of empties for beverages are being returned, to point to this process and say, look, people are returning these cylinders. Can we build upon that? What is your process? And so I guess my general hint is to look at market level. What is there already where similar processes may exist that you can piggyback on to facilitate reverse logistics? And of course, the same goes to cleaning. What infrastructure exists where something is being cleaned that is similar to what you may have in mind, and research that. And because again, building all of that from scratch will very likely, I mean, unless you've got massive funding, will very likely be impossible, because rebuilding the whole value chain, you can't do on your own.
Yeah. That's probably why you're cooperating also cross-sector. I mean, that's what you do in the reuse association and also on the European level. It's not only your sector, it's the whole sector of reusable and refillable packaging. And you probably learn a lot from each other. Yeah.
That's where Planet Reuse, that's where New Era, that's where in Germany the Medikverband Deutschland, and I don't know in which market which similar associations exist. Are wonderful platforms to engage, collaborate, learn, and identify what are you doing, how are you doing it, what exists. And what we've learned, speaking on behalf of the Medikverband, which is essentially the Systematic Reuse Association or the Returnable Packaging Association, of course, suppliers in this space are also starting to join this association because they realize there are multiple efforts going to this direction. They may be cleaning one application and they're looking to offer their services for other applications, and that's how you can start engaging with various parties to better understand what they can do, what they can't do, and to what extent what exists can help your approach.
Okay, thank you both. We will have some time for questions, and I will hand over to Manon, who busily collected the questions and will ask the ones which are not answered yet in the chat or via the discussion. Manon, please go ahead.
Thank you, Nicole. So most of them were already answered throughout the different presentations. Sorry. A few are left. So do you know if RFID labels can hinder recycling process? That was one interesting one.
Oh, for RFID, I just answered from what I'm going first. From what we know, we're not considering RFID, but we're not moving forward in what we're developing, but not due to it not being compatible with recycling, but simply due to cost, because we understand and we know that it's a key element to keep the cost of our solution down as much as possible. And RFID, even at 10 cents for a chip, is massively increasing the cost of a solution. From a recycling perspective, our research and my understanding is no, it's not limiting the recycling process because of the way the sorting and cutting happens, that the RFID chips largely will be able to be sorted out, and the few that do remain are not substantially limiting the quality of the recyclate that comes out. But this is not, I'm not here saying that's what it is. That's what our research has yielded thus far. But we stepped away from it, not because of the recycling limitation, but because of the cost factor for now.
Is it the same situation in France, Gerard?
I'm sure RFID supplier will find a way to make it recycle. There is no problem on that. But I feel we add complexity to the system by adding RFID, and it giving you a potential, but it also making complexify the scheme. And definitely, I want to simplify everything. Single use is fucking easy. And if we complexify things, we will never win. It's impossible. So we need to simplify. And every time we have a problem, we need to simplify it instead of complexifying it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Another question, and it's the last one that hasn't been answered actually. Could you maybe share figures comparing plastic and glass? So that's about LCA impacts. It would be helpful.
It's difficult to share just like that because there's not the one number and there are so many assumptions in the model that you're building. So unfortunately, no. Whoever asked that question, if that person wants to reach out and with a little bit more time engage around the subject, I'd be happy to grant insights. But as for now, it's not possible to give the one number and that's it. It's too many assumptions, too complicated. I mean, you need to think of transportation distances, cleaning processes, manufacturing processes.
Total size.
Yes, size. There are so many that just this one number, no, it doesn't exist. Not because I don't want to share, but just because it doesn't exist. Without really taking an LCA approach, you won't have a number that can be used in any way.
An example, I went to a shop some times ago. There were a promotion on Le Petit Marseillais soap, and they sold 3 small 250 milliliters soap for the price of 2. So they have a package of 3. And they could sell a 750 milliliter bottles. It would be cheaper for everyone. It will be lighter in terms of stock, etc. So it all depends on what do you want to compare. And we need to make sure that we compare to what is the most sold into the single-use items, because they will come and tell their eco recharge is lighter, but it's not what they sell massively. Eco recharge is not what they show, but they don't sell it. They don't know how to sell it. They don't know how to merchandise it. It's create a mess in the air, etc. And they sell single dose. They sell small packaging multiplied by 3 with a promotion. So that's where LCA is complex. It's what do you really compare? We are a system. Reuse is a system. When they are a product, difficult. Now, glass against plastic. Glass against glass, it's very easy. Glass against plastic, depend on the number of time you reuse. It's what you said first. And when you are in a hand soap that stays 6 months at your home, you need time to have it reused 5 times. And we are still young and new. That's another problem too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. So please,
Well, at least
please reach out if you want to have specific data on whatever is the use case, but we can't give that one number because it doesn't exist.
And also for the audience, if you have any data and number you want to share, as I said before, we have a channel for personal care and home care within the Planet Reuse platform. So please join the channel, in particular on this issue, and share whatever you want to ask. Whatever you want to, we'll continue the discussion there. But we have time maybe for one more question. So if there is one more question, Manon, I don't know, or somebody want to raise one now, also you can put on your camera and the microphone and just give us a question.
Yeah, because that's all for now regarding the questions in the chat. So
yes,
feel free to jump in.
Is there anybody who wants to ask something? Now it's your chance. No, I can't see any hands. Okay. Also good. So obviously we answered everything or gave you so many information that you first have to think about the questions. There is one more question I see in the chat from Sean. Have you worked with cleansing company washing too? Oh, I can't. Hold on.
Yeah, I worked with Meiko. They developed a pretty nice small bottle washer. It's a standard dishwasher, and they developed a pretty well done rack that is very easy to use and pretty performant. So people who want to start, it costs like 7,000, 10,000 euros. I don't know the new costing, and it allows you to do trials and to beginning to do your own stuff, etc. So we are working with them, and we are working with some chemical producer to have anti-foam, because in soaps you need to break the foam. So we add a bit of ingredient in the chemistry to break the foam. So definitely it's a collaborative way there too, because nobody know how to clean. I mean, liquid soap have been developed because single-use bottle before they were hard soap, and consumers tend to like liquid soap and tend to not want to exclude it to their behavior. That is a fact. So we need to adapt to that.
Speaking on behalf of this CIMI GmbH, no, we have not been innovating anything in terms of infrastructure. We are able to use existing infrastructure.
That's great.
For cleaning beverages. The leach is what needs adaptation. And of course, there are other key process steps that you will find when a bottle sits for half a year instead of 2 minutes, and then it's empty because you finished the beer. What, 2 minutes? I don't believe you that fast. But maybe it takes 30. Maybe it takes 30 minutes. But there's a big difference in how the bottle is looking like and how it's returned and how you will need to adapt processes. But again, we've been looking for existing infrastructure. Leach is different, but infrastructure is the same. So and also sequence may be different, but infrastructure exists for our use case.
Okay, Thank you. I hope you can still hear me because my connection is a bit weak. Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you very, very much, André and Gerard. We got a lot of information about the reusable and refillable packaging in especially personal and home care. A lot of info, a lot of challenges you are facing, but also a lot of optimistic information here to move on in the sector. And one key takeaway is probably also collaboration, especially in the background, in the logistics, in the return logistics, in the cleaning, in whatever secondary and tertiary packaging and so on. So thanks a lot for your information. As I said at the start, the webinar will be recorded. We have one last question for you. We are having a webinar more or less every month. And you are free to tell us in the chat now what kind of topics you wish that we cover in the future months. The next topic we planned is probably on wine and alcoholic drinks, but particularly on wine, reusable bottle systems for wine. That will be next month, probably. And of course, you get the invitation. If you're not on our platform, please join Planet Reuse to follow the discussion or follow up on the discussion we had today. And yes, that's all from my side. Thank you very much that so many people have been in the room and listened, concentrated to what André and Gerard said. And thanks so much, Gerard and André, to sharing your insights and for your time on the webinar. Happy to join you next time. And yes, have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Go circular, everyone. Bye-bye.